What do you like about snowboarding? That's a pretty simple, honest question, but I bet you can't remember the last time you've been asked and you really had to think about it and answer it. I was at my local hill a couple of days ago, the Blue Hills, and I saw this 10, maybe 11-year-old kid came up to me and he was kind of inquisitive. He asked me, was I filming a YouTube video? And I said, yeah, I was filming a video. Talked to him for a couple of minutes, asked him how long he's been skiing for. He said he's been skiing for about 7 years. So that means he started when he was 3 or 4. And that probably looked about right from how enthused he was about skiing. He got on the lift, I got on the lift, we took our rides. A couple of chairlifts later, I saw him easing over to me, so I knew he kind of wanted to ride the lift with me. So we rode up, and there was no filming. We just had a conversation. He told me what he loved about skiing. He loved being in the air. And I get that. That's that honest 10-year-old, 11-year-old, just want to go fast and jump. But then he asked me a question. He's like, what do you like about snowboarding? And I knew the answer. I had an answer, but I paused for a minute because I had to be able to give the answer to an 11-year-old in a way in which they would probably be able to understand it and digest it. So I said, what I've said before, what I like about snowboarding is it allows me to just sit back, be in the moment, and not think about anything. And that's truly that feeling I get when I'm snowboarding. And I think he understood what I was saying. We had a good little conversation after that. I told him I started when I was 20 and I felt like I was an old timer. And he was like, 20 is not old. I'm like, it is to start a brand new sport. And he's like, okay, maybe. He got off the lift and he rode off. Didn't talk to him again, but it got me thinking, what is it about snowboarding that we love? And I know you're not normally asked that question, especially as you get older and you become the veteran on the slopes. You're much more likely to ask that question to somebody else than to have it asked to you in a way in which you have to really sit back and think about it. Because what you loved about snowboarding in the beginning may not be what you love about it now. And until you actually answer that question, you might not even realize that the answer that you would have given 10, 15 years ago isn't the same answer now. Because my younger self probably would have given an answer closer to what that kid gave. Speed, air, just that normal exhilaration of something new. But what I love about it now is definitely not what I loved about it when I was 20. And it's good to know that. It's good to know where you are in relationship to where you started, because you can never really put it into that proper perspective unless you actually start to evaluate it. And the first step of evaluating it is just answering that question. What do you love about snowboarding? And there's probably 10, 15 different answers I could give, but without the question being asked, you're never gonna evaluate them. And you need to evaluate them to put them into the proper perspective. Because maybe you need to rearrange and shuffle. Maybe you need to push a couple of those things that you thought were back burner. Maybe you need to put them in the front. Because now at a certain age, at a certain time, certain level of development, that you realize maybe I shouldn't be trying to charge as hard as I'm charging for as long as I'm charging. Maybe I do need to learn to love those blues and greens. You know, maybe a solo trip is what I need to do, because if I don't, I'm not getting on snow anywhere near as much as I like to. Maybe you actually realize how you feel when you come back from a snowboarding trip or a skiing trip. You feel rejuvenated, you feel better, that weight is off. All those things come from evaluation. And evaluation comes from a good, honest question. And I haven't had that honest of a question from that honest of a individual in a long time relating to skiing and snowboarding. And man, I'm glad that kid asked me that question, because not only did it help me evaluate it for myself, it's given me the fuel to actually make this video and to ask you, what do you love about snowboarding? Why did you start? Why are you still here? What do you need to do to make sure you continue to love it, to protect that stoke, to pass that stoke on? All those things are worth knowing, worth asking. And whether it's somebody asks you, or you just sit back and you reflect and you ask yourself, the question has to get asked. The question needs to be answered. And the quicker you answer that question, the quicker you can recalibrate and shuffle that deck and start to do what you need to do to start pulling those aces. Because it only gets harder as we get older. And if we don't realize that and do the things we need to do, it just becomes not as much fun as it did when we were 20, when we were 25, hanging out with a crew. But if you want to make sure that your stoke is constantly maintained and you're enjoying as much time on the mountain as you can, make sure you ask yourself the right questions and make sure you answer them honestly, because nobody can answer that question better than you. So why do you love snowboarding? Let me know in the comments below and we can have a discussion. I'm Blair, and this is the Dirtbag Association, where our wax is old, our knees are older, but the stoke doesn't melt. See you on the mountain.
I don't ask for too much.